All right, let's go ahead and get started. So again, good morning and thank you for joining us on today's webinar. I'm Nicole Jones. I'm the content manager here at Kintone, and in just a moment, I can't wait to introduce to you Tim Eddingfield. He is the operations lead of New Community Coalition, and he'll be telling you his story with Kintone. But before we get started, I would just like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. So you should see your attendee interface on your computer desktop. It's in the upper right corner. You're most likely currently listening in using your computer speaker system. But if you prefer to join over the phone, or if you have trouble hearing from your computer, you can just select telephone in the audio pane, and the dial-in information will be displayed. So we're going to give you the opportunity to submit text questions by typing them into the questions pane of your control panel. You can send in questions at any time during today's presentation. We'll collect those and we'll make sure to address them at the very end during our Q&A session. All right, now that housekeeping notes are out of the way, we're gonna just go into what we'll be discussing today. So we're going to go through how we can increase efficiency by viewing and managing information from your entire team in one place, anytime and anywhere, even from your mobile device. Second thing is quickly how to deploy and easily update business apps. Third being connecting to multiple data sources and showing you how you can see new insights and connections. And then, of course, at the very end, a Q&A with myself and Tim. But first, we're going to take a poll here. So let me just get that launched. All right, question. How much time do you spend managing data? And that could be entering, pulling, analyzing data each week. So we've got 4 options here, 0 to 5 hours, 6 to 10 hours, 11 to 20 hours, or more than 20 hours a week. So really eager to hear what we see here. So I see the results coming in. Okay, looks like a lot of people so far saying about 6 to 10 hours. Although we do have some people who have, 20 or more hours. Wow. Okay, we'll give you a couple, looks like a couple more people still need to vote. I wonder if that might be myself, but I definitely know where I fit in that. Okay, so it looks like we are pretty split. 40% said 6 to 10 hours. 40% of you said 20 plus hours. Wow, that's more than half the work week there. And then we had 20% who said 0 to 5 hours. So a lot of us are spending a lot of our life. Let's see, and I can share those results there. Entering, analyzing, managing our data. Going to go back to my screen here. So we know that managing data successfully can be a challenge, especially when we spend so much of our waking life managing data. So this can be a challenge, particularly for nonprofit leaders who need to connect missions with outcomes. According to a 2013 survey, and this is a DC-based CPA and consulting firm, Tate and Tyron in 2013. So according to that survey, half of the 48 nonprofit leaders that they polled said that their top challenge with collecting data is missing or inaccurate data, followed by data formatting that does not allow for analysis or reporting. Additionally, nearly half of respondents are dissatisfied or very dissatisfied with the ease of obtaining information from their database, while 40% of respondents said they were dissatisfied or very dissatisfied with the technology used to collect, analyze, and report membership metrics. So I'm going to just launch into our last poll of the day here. What kind of data solution are you currently using? Oh, it looks like none is on there twice. maybe a double none if you're definitely not using anything. So let's see, we've got Excel spreadsheets, cloud data management service, or an on-premise data solution. See our results coming in. We'll just take a few more moments to give everyone else a chance to enter. Okay, looks like so far 50% Excel spreadsheets, while 25% cloud data management service and 25% on-premise data solution. All right, so a lot of people using Excel spreadsheets. That is a very common thing that we see, particularly for nonprofits. It's just kind of a default solution that a lot of organizations are using. So what we're going to get into next, just go back to sharing my screen here. We're going to talk about why integrating your data into a centralized cloud-based platform is so important. Ooh, getting ahead of me there. So first being, it reduces redundant processes, right? When it's on the cloud, everything is live. It's always in real time and update. The second thing being that it streamlines activities with workflow enablement processes. You're able to enable workflows and make sure that it's going through the right hand, so a task never goes through the crack. The third being is that it helps organize roles and responsibilities, absolutely, especially with task-based notifications that a lot of different cloud-based platforms, data management platforms do have. And the fourth being that it visualizes new trends and insights. A lot of these platforms have built-in data visualization that makes it easy to take the data that you import from, let's say, an outside data source or an Excel spreadsheet to instantly visualize it and to have that visualization updated in real time so that your team is always on the same page. So with that, we know that tapping into the power of data-driven decision-making can turn your hard work into good intentions into lasting sustainable impact. I think that's why a lot of us are here today. So by finding a database solution for you and your team, we know it's hard work. Your options usually are either an overly complex embedded system that's in need of IT support, or an off-the-shelf cookie cutter solution that can't be customized to how your team needs to work. So New Community Coalition Operations lead Tim Eddingfield, found himself in this dilemma. His 200-member nonprofit organization needed to maintain its different databases for tracking population needs, assessments, and other information with a solution that was both cost-effective and user-friendly. Now, that's the challenge. So I'm going to pass it over to him now so that he can share his story with you.
Thank you, Nicole. So something to know about the New Community Coalition is that it's an organization that's developed to inspire and to promote community collaboration. And part of community collaboration is data collection and data management. And since we live in the 21st century, data is everywhere. And the means to collect it, to manage it, to understand it is all over the place. And nonprofits mostly run off of volunteer support. And volunteers don't have probably a degree in data management, data analysis. All they know is they have an Excel spreadsheet in front of them and they have to enter in the information that is coming to them. So what Kintone does is that it allows for a much easier user interface. So if you're able to see, I have my my home screen for Kintone being shared right now, and in the announcements area, you can see all kinds of live data. For instance, it tracks the total volunteer hours. You can track in-kind and cash donations. You can even break it down to individual donors and their types. Kintone has been able to allow me as a developer to customize the needs of my organization. And we're going to just go into the Kintone testing space that I've created. that allows us to play around with data without actually without actually messing with the real data in the new community coalition. So what I've done is I've been able to duplicate a volunteer and donor information database, and it's very simple. You just enter the specific entity name, contact, last name, first name, and all the information that your organization needs for that individual or organization. And this is very helpful for nonprofits because nonprofits need to be able to track their donors, their volunteers, because when they're going out for grants, they need real data that explains the need of their organization, the community's need for their organization, and the community's support to that organization. A lot of the times, volunteer hours, board meetings, all of those times are forgotten or lost in the cracks. And when you look at the nonprofits statistics for how volunteer hours translate to actual in-kind donation, that's thousands and thousands of dollars that are left into cracks and not being reported. So what this allows, it allows you for an easier way to track, enter, and report. Now, I just wanted to show you all a simple way to create applications in Kintone. Oh, I went too far. So if you look at the top right-hand corner, you'll see three little dots. If we click on those dots and then we go to create application, we can create an application from the marketplace, which Kintone has amazing pre-made templates for us to choose from. We can create it from a template that we have made in the past. We can take an Excel spreadsheet. A lot of us have Excel on our computers, and we probably are already doing data analysis and data entry on Excel, so we can just transfer the Excel straight to Kintone, or we can create the application from scratch. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to create the application from scratch. So we just click that, and it's very simple. We just change the name to, we're going to create an activity tracker. And it's very simple. It's just drag and drop. So we want to know what the name of the activity was. So we go in and change the settings. I apologize. I've been sick for a little bit, so my voice is probably a little scratchy right now. So we give it an activity name. We choose a date, so we want to have a date for that activity. We're probably going to want to know, sometimes our activities we want to track by what kind of activity we had. So we'll have either a text box, multi-line, or we can have multiple choice or a drop down. What we usually do is we have a drop down for our activities, and we set it up to so activity type, and we'll just create a few samples. So we'll say board meeting, because all nonprofits have boards. We'll say events. We can say operations. And then we can say networking. And then we save that. And let's just say we want to track the amount of time that these activities are. So we can put 2 time slots. So we'll call time slot 1 the start time. And we'll give time slot 2 the end time. But we also want to change the field code. So we'll say S time. And I'll explain why we're changing the code. The reason why we're changing the code is because when you're dealing with a calculated field, it needs to be able to reference what fields you're dealing with. So we want to calculate the total time that the event or activity was. So we're going to take S time. Well, actually, no, we're going to take end time, so E time, and subtract S time. And then hours and minutes, because we want to know how many hours or how many minutes it was. And we'll save that. And we have a simple activity tracker. Now, one more thing that we can do is we can create another calculated cell, and we can convert our total time to in-kind donation. And that is, hold on, I need to find out what the code is for total time. It's calculated. So we're going to say T time. And we're going to change calculated to in kind. So T time times, let's see, what's usually the in kind number? It's usually like $15. And we want to change that to a currency, which isn't really showing here, which is okay. We can just keep that as a number. There it is. And the currency. There we go. And then we'll save. And let's activate the app and let's test it out. So we go to add a new record. And we're going to say that we went to a board meeting. So we'll call it board. And we had a board meeting on the 17th. So we assign it to the board meeting. And it started at 11 a.m. and ended at 2 p.m. So it calculates 3 hours and 0 minutes. But over here, the calculated field is showing 162,000. That is definitely not what the in-kind donation was. So what we would have to do is we'd have to go back and edit the actual application. So we'd go to change application settings, back to the form. We go back to the in-kind and we find out what happened. So we say we want 2 decimal places. And maybe we have to put this in parentheses for it to work. A lot of this is trial and error and trying to figure out how the formulas react to each other. And Nicole, she is excellent with helping you understand these. This is actually my first time creating a in-kind calculated field. So we all get to learn something new together. And something else to consider for your nonprofit organization is actually breaking down your activities and tracking them by how much time they have, so that you understand what your time is being spent with. So I want to show you New Community Coalition's page, and I've actually got permission to show you this. So over here, we have an activity tracker for ourselves. And the way to create, oh, that's the wrong tracker. We just created that. I apologize. Activity tracking, that's the right one. So over here in your applications dashboard, you have the ability to create views, and you also have the ability to create graphs. Now, if you ever remember the amount of time it takes in Excel to create a graph, Kintone makes it that much easier. So let's say we want to know the relationship between all of our events and activities compared. So we can run a pie chart and we can determine how much time is being allotted. And as you can see, New Community Coalition meets more as a board than it does anything else. Or at least that's what the data is showing. Unfortunately, though, what we found is that as an agency, it's not viable. It's not fundable right now. But the application of collaboration is still there. Kintone gives you the ability to work with other nonprofits. Um, so the New Community Coalition had an idea of, we're a small town, a lot of our nonprofits have a small budget. So what we would do is we would purchase Kintone for ourselves, the $150 a year, and then we would allow other nonprofits, other groups, to be able to create their own spaces within our database. And we have one here on our homepage from the For Youth by Youth. And they've created their own space that tracks how many volunteers we have and the amount of time that's being allotted towards specific activities. Is it true that there can be a lot more to be done with their database? Absolutely. The possibilities are endless. But as we all know, as a nonprofit, everybody or most of everybody is a volunteer. Their time is valuable and their time should be spent doing the actual work. So what I'm trying to show you is that what Kintone does is it takes a little bit of extra time to create the database. But once it's created, the application of it, the integration of it, and the volunteer training of it is very simple, very easy to train. And the other great thing about Kintone is that you can set permissions for specific users. So let's say we don't want people from For Youth by Youth looking into NCC's database. Absolutely can understand why. They're two different organizations. So to do that, we can go to Users and System Administration. And then let's see, Groups or Roles. And we can see our administrators and everyone. I'm in the wrong place. So to change the permissions for specific applications, you open up the application dashboard. You go to Change Application Settings, and you'll see this box right here is called Permissions. So you can choose the application permissions. So if you specifically don't want them to be able to edit or change information within the application, but you just want them to be able to view, you can go to the app. And then you can choose the specific people that you want to have access and have the ability to edit. As we can see, we have 5 people that can view, add, edit records, but 4 of them are not able to delete records. Only the app creator can delete records. This is done specifically to avoid accidental deletions. And I can't see anybody and I can't hear anybody, but I can imagine that in your work with databases, you've probably had an accidental deletion of a few records. And that's a nightmare, especially when those records are large and have a ton of data that you really can't restore as easily. The other cool thing that Kintone allows is it allows you to be able to import from files. So for those of us that have Excel as our main data place, we can take our Excel spreadsheet, upload it into the Kintone database, and it all speaks the same language. And then if we want to export the file into, or export the database into an Excel spreadsheet, or if we want to export it into an Access database, or any kind of file that we can think of, we can export it. I believe that the format is CSV, and Nicole, you could correct me if I'm wrong.
It's CSV, exactly.
So you can change it into a CSV and work with it any way you know how. Something else though that I really like about Kintone is that for nonprofits, let's say you have like our big project we want to work on is we want to create an interagency database for our homeless solutions, and that is going to take a lot of time. It's also going to take a lot of collaboration because we're going to be working with DHS, the homeless shelters, the food banks, the Oregon Coast Community Action, all kinds of agencies. And what we also have to keep in mind is that they all have their own database, and we want to streamline the work and make it easier. We don't want to make an extra step or make it harder. So by doing that, what we can do is we're allowed to create spaces, and I believe for the nonprofits, we have a limit of 300 spaces. So you can have 300 different agencies on one nonprofit package. There's over 50,000 records capacity for each application, and you can have 900 applications. You can also have up to 50 users. Now, if you live in a big city, or if you live in or you have a big organization that you need a lot more than just 50, you can always pay for another 150 to double what you currently have. And I've done the math. The amount of money it would cost to do that is astronomically low. Because if you take 150 and divide it by 12, here, we'll even do that. So calculator, so 150 divided by 12 is $12.50 a month. That's less than a Netflix subscription if you have DVDs.
So calculation right there. Yeah. It's a couple cups of coffee.
Yep. Or a really good hamburger.
These days, yeah.
Yep. It's been really helpful for our organization, and even though things have slowed down for New Community Coalition, the application and the capacity that Kintone brings is definitely the best on the market. Now, when you're thinking about the mobile app, right now it's kind of limited. You can only view information and it's not really customizable. But what Nicole's told me is that they're going to be changing the application and updating it to have a lot more control, a lot more viewing options, editing options, which I'm very excited to hear about.
That is correct. Yeah, absolutely. So right now, viewing, you can enter data. It's great for people who are working out in the field. You can take photos, upload them as attachments, and essentially for people who are working out in the field, make sure that they are collecting, updating data and putting it in the app. So, it goes back to the office, or it's just a lot more of a streamlined process. But yes, there are some editing features that we are working on just to make it fully interactive. So that is in our roadmap for this year. So we're really excited to unveil that soon.
And on my agenda, I have the last item. It's called "Why is this better for nonprofit organizations?" Nonprofit organizations are the lifeblood of the service industry, for our humanitarian service industry in our world. The amount of time since that we looked at our poll that is dedicated each week to data is very high. And that time, even if it's cut in half, could be better placed into operating the organization, serving the people that we serve, or animals if you're an animal shelter, making that change in the world. Um, the ease of access that Kintone brings, the user interface that is friendly and customizable that Kintone brings, and the fact that the data is on the web and not saved to your hard drive is fantastic. Because if I had to keep all of my data on my computer and I needed to send it to a collaborator, I wouldn't be able to. I'd have to send it through a Dropbox or through a Google Drive. And I've tried that before. That was actually the reason why I switched to Kintone, was because the database I currently had on my computer, it crashed when I tried sending it to a collaborator through the Google Drive and through Dropbox. I lost hours of work, and it was really hard. But what was really nice was that I was able to export it into an Excel spreadsheet beforehand, and when I got onto Kintone, I could upload it all in a split second, and my database was saved. That was huge. And the fact that I can customize it to the needs of the organization, because believe it or not, your organization's needs will change. They will change a lot. Every year there will be new things to track, things that we haven't thought of, and making those adjustments in, let's say, a cookie cutter database is impossible unless they give you the tools to do it or unless they create the field for you. Making that change in Kintone is a 5-minute conversation. And also, if you're really good with Kintone, a 2-minute click and drag. It's the best investment for nonprofits, and I can't say that enough. So I'm going to hand this over to Nicole, and then we'll move on from there.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim. And yeah, Tim's been just a really great advocate for pushing forward a progressive solution for nonprofits who need a better way to collect, manage, and analyze their data. So we're really grateful for him to be able to inform other nonprofits that this is available to them. I mean, really, we're giving this away practically for free. The 150 that nonprofits do pay for, that really just goes to like maintenance, server maintenance. That's it. We really do believe in the importance of making sure that nonprofits have the tools they need to execute on their missions more effectively. So we thank you, Tim, for sharing how you use Kintone and hopefully inspiring other nonprofits here today or other organizations too to become involved in Kintone. And you said a lot of trial by error, and that is true. I mean, Kintone is very powerful for being user friendly. It has a lot of powerful pre-built services, so it is easy to get up and running to do, just some basic things that you might already be doing in Excel spreadsheets, but it can go to just so many different levels, and we're here to help you manage that. We've got a really great product specialist team and system consultants to build something for you too, if you need something more complex, to build something for you and make sure that your team is really working in the most efficient way possible. So please reach out, but we'll get more into that after questions. So why don't we move into questions now? If you haven't asked questions already, now is a great time to do that. And let me just share my screen again. So you can just submit your questions in the panel there. And, if there's something you would like to ask offline, you can always email me. My email address is nicole@kintone.com. And we'll also be recording, we are recording this presentation. So everyone will get a follow-up email tomorrow. But let's just wait for some questions. It looks like we've got some questions coming in. All right. So let's see, we got a little bit into this already. So, how cost effective is this for nonprofits? I think, Tim, you did a great job showing that with the calculator. I mean, it is really the most competitive offer out there for nonprofits right now. 150 a year equates to $12.50 a month to do some really powerful stuff. So, a really great solution for nonprofits. If you're here today, you're not a nonprofit, and you have people who are working in the nonprofit space and are kind of just stuck working with their current solution and are looking for something better, please connect them with us. We're always looking to get more nonprofits on board. Um, so let's see. Next question here. What kind of solutions do you look at first, Tim, before using Kintone?
Oh boy, I've tried. So there was a program called Donor Match, which was it was kind of customizable, but then not. You just told them what you wanted to be able to track, and the monthly fee for that was $50 a month. And the interface for users was so cluttered, so hard to figure out. It was just a nightmare. And I was still on the free trial when I opened it up, and it was just over my head. Then the next one I looked at was QuickBase, which is from Intuit, the people that create QuickBooks, and their cost was $29.99 per user. So take that and multiply it by 50, and that's a month. So it is just too expensive, and again, uncustomizable. You were given specific fields that they thought you needed, and you weren't able to customize them. They, there wasn't any training on how to use the program, and it just felt like a lot of wasted space.
Hmm.
When you open up a database and you use 5 fields out of the 50 they give you, that feels like a waste of money, a waste of time, a waste of space, a waste of everything. And so I quit on that. I already told you I tried Access and tried using a cloud drive to be able to share it with collaborators, and that didn't work out very well. We originally started with an Excel spreadsheet, and then our tracking became more complex, and our Excel spreadsheet wasn't able to do what we wanted it to do. Or at least we weren't able to figure out how to make the Excel do what we wanted to do. So
Quite the journey.
quite the journey. And I stumbled on this when I was just looking on, I was online looking for web-based databases, and I saw Kintone, and I figured I've tried everything else, might as well try Kintone. Opened it up, it said customize your own applications, big bold letters. And I wasn't looking at the nonprofit page, I was actually looking at the business page, and their business prices were a little bit more pricey. Actually, I'm not going to lie, a lot more pricey, because it's a price per user, and it's a monthly price if I remember correctly. So that was a little scary at first, but then I saw a nonprofit option. And I clicked on that, and I saw $150 a year for X amount of users, and I said, if this works, then this is the holy grail of databases. So I started my free trial. I talked to Nicole. I think I've talked to Tristan, and
Travis, maybe.
Travis, that's his name. I got the T right.
Yeah, the tra.
And they've helped me understand how to use this tool. They've helped me understand how to integrate the needs of my organization into a custom application instead of just clicking on a cookie cutter solution, which they do have. They have cookie cutter applications in their marketplace, which are very powerful, very helpful, and customizable. So you can take their marketplace, you can take their applications, and if you see you don't need a specific field, you can delete it. which is very nice.
Mm, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So, and two, just in terms of like how our pricing stacks up to our competitors, I would say it's pretty on par to what you're seeing out there. And the top thing being that our support is pretty unparalleled. So we know it can be kind of intimidating, especially if you're not um, uh, maybe you're new to databases and you know what your process is. You want to be able to build out something complex and specific for your team and for your operations. So really do provide that support for you. And as Tim was mentioning in the marketplace, we do have a lot of those cookie cutter apps just to help you get going, which you can from there even customize. But it gives you something to start with, and those are all free. We have a growing app library with really apps for just about any sector industry that you're in, from HR to sales, the CRM. So it's pretty multifaceted. So great. Let's see. We've got another question here of how did you create the show records column or buttons in the table view you have on your announcement page?
Ah, that was a question I was hoping I'd get. So on the announcement page, there's here, I'll share my screen so I can show it.
Yes. Let's see.
So
Might have to make you
Nicole's
back.
gonna share her screen with me.
There you go.
All right, and show screen. All right, let's make sure it's the right screen. So yeah, can you see the announcement, Nicole?
I can. Yes.
All right. So at the top right-hand corner of the announcement box, there's a little edit button, which is very nice. And you can insert the different graphs that you've created or different informations that you've created to be able to show up on the announcement as a live feed. So to be able to do this, you actually have to create the graphs beforehand. So if you don't, then you're not going to have anything to insert. So if we go to the volunteer and donor information, and then we look at the graphs that I've created, you can see there's donations after January 1st, total volunteer hours, donation breakdown, all of those. Each one was created specifically to track broken down data. And then you can choose which ones that you want to show on the home page. I actually have other graphs for our activity tracking that aren't showing up on the announcements because I didn't want it to just be one big scroll down. Oh, there it is. So for our tech, I guess I forgot that I put it up there. So I'm going to show you how to actually, oh, this is for the New Community Coalition space, that's why. So part of Kintone's beauty for spaces is that you can create a space and do the same thing that you did with the announcements. So this is my administrator page, so I can see all of the spaces, all of the applications that have been created under this account, and then all of the specific announcements I want to show to me. But when you go to a space, for instance, New Community Coalition has its own space, you can tailor and customize the specific information that you want to show on the space announcement, which is what everyone receives when they go on to their space. So our executive director, Char Luther, if she were to sign into Kintone right now, she wouldn't be seeing my page, she'd be seeing hers, which is going to feed it's going to feed the applications that she has permission to see. She has permission to edit, and since she's in the the New Community Coalition space, it's going to give the live feed of all of the applications that have been placed under the homepage. So to do that, we go to the edit, and we're just going to take off activity tracking and put it back in. And attaching it is very easy. You just go up to attach application, and we're going to go down to our activity tracking. And we can attach the entire database, the entire application, or we can select a graph that we've created, which is the activity breakdown, and then say OK. And then, since it's pretty small right now, we want to increase the size. So we can say we want it to be 800 pixels long instead of 400. We hit save, and then the page will refresh, and there's our activity tracker. And you can change the order that these show up in. You can change the size. It's, again, customizable is the key word.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. I'm gonna take the screen back here. All right, let's see.
Absolutely.
And it looks like we've got another question. I can take this one. If we could explain our current search features for finding records and what we're planning to roll out there. And yes, some issues with searching for certain fields and records. Yes, that is totally on point. For right now, in terms of search, what you can do, there is a search bar at the top, and you can search for words, and that will pull up results. Even if you have like PDFs or other files, it will also pull in documents into that search. But right now, in terms of searching for specific things, like by, let's say you just want to see records that have that search field, that is something that we are working on. I don't have a timeline. I can follow up with you more after this webinar and reach out to see where we currently are in that process. But we do have something really large coming. It's called Elasticsearch. That will essentially be able to search quicker, and the goal, ideally, hopefully, being to really be able to par out the search results that you want, whether that's by field, by record, and make it more specific. So definitely hear you on that, and I will be following up with this person more offline. And I think that is all the time that we have for questions at this moment. So just going to transition into the end here and some next steps. So thank you, Tim, for answering those questions. And thank you all for attending today. It's a great time to move into a free trial if you haven't already. I will include that link in the chat box, and also it'll be in your follow-up email. And then if you want to see a custom demo for your specific use case, please schedule a custom demo with one of our product specialists. And that's the link in the slide. I will also make sure that that is in the chat box so you can easily click on it, and in the follow-up email. So I'm just sending that over right now. So you can schedule like a 30-minute demo, an hour-long demo, really whatever you need. And what it might take to really explain the full use case. So with that, just again, thank you so much. I hope that you do take these next steps. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me in the meantime. I'm at Nicole@Kintone.com. Put that in the chat box as well. So once you leave today's webinar, you'll receive a link to the recording. Should be about 24 hours or so. So Tim, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope to hear from you all soon. Have a great rest of your day.